If you started a company or are thinking about starting a company, at some point you may need to raise money for your business. You may need working capital to fund operations, or you may need growth capital to expand your business and keep things going. So it's an important skill set to understand how to raise money and to understand the ins and outs of the whole fundraising process. My name is Carlos Heredia from YourGreatBusiness.com, and I'm going to, in this video, give you the lowdown on a huge change in the securities regulations that came down last Monday, September 23rd, 2013, and how that significantly affects your ability to raise money. So before last Monday, you could not advertise your offering or go after a large number of investors. It was illegal to do so. But as of Monday, you now can advertise generally the fact that you're raising money, and you can go after all the investors that you can. So you can, as we say, use a Blimp or Chimp to go after investors. So you can get a Blimp and put the terms of the offering on the side of the Blimp and have it fly around town. You can use Chimp to send out an email newsletter. You can use radio spots and TV advertising. You can put the terms of the offering on your website on the internet. You can even use social media to discuss the terms and let people know about the offering, about the fact that you're raising money for your company. So before Monday that was illegal, but as of Monday you now can do those things. So it's a good thing, right? You can reach more potential investors. There's greater access to a larger pool of money that may be potential investors in your company. But like everything, there's a catch, and this is very important for you to remember. So while you can tell everyone, you just can't sell to everyone. So you can tell everyone about the fact that your company is raising money, and you can tell everyone that these are the terms of the deal, and here's the stock, and this is the price. You can let everyone know those details. You just can't sell to everyone. So the first thing that you need to remember is that if you go down this path of a general advertising offering or a general solicitation offering, you can only sell your securities, you can only sell your stock to what are called accredited investors. And these accredited investors are high net worth individuals or companies that meet certain financial tests. And the idea here is that while you can let everyone know about your offering and how you're raising money, you can only sell to certain individuals or certain companies that have the financial resources where they can protect themselves. Even if the investment goes badly or doesn't go as planned, they still have the resources to withstand the loss of their money. And in theory, the assumption is that they have a greater understanding of how these investments work, and so they're better prepared to make risky investments. So you can tell everyone, you just can't sell to everyone. And so the first thing you need to remember is that you can only sell the securities in these general solicitation or general advertising offerings only to accredited investors. And the next thing that's really important to remember, and this is also another new development, is that even though you're selling to accredited investors, you now need to take reasonable steps to really prove or verify that they are accredited. In the old way of raising money, the investor would just sign a piece of paper certifying that he or she was an accredited investor and met the financial tests and were prepared to invest in the company. Now, if your company is going down this general advertising offering path, you need to get evidence or get documentation that proves that reasonably proves that these investors actually are accredited investors and meet the financial tests that they're supposed to meet. So with this extra verification that you need to do, you can imagine that there'll be extra paperwork and extra complexities and extra costs in terms of getting the verification or getting the documents and keeping those documents. So there's extra record keeping and just extra steps to conduct this verification process. The other thing, as of Monday, there's a filing that you need to make with the SEC. It's called the Form D, and you'll have to check a box that you're using general solicitation. So to drive home the point, the first main point that I want you to remember is that you can tell everyone, you can't sell to everyone. The second important point to remember is that more requirements and red tape are just around the corner. So the SEC has proposed additional regulations regarding this general advertising or general solicitation method to raise money. So if these proposals are approved, and certainly some number of them will be approved, there will be a lot more paperwork and a lot more disclosure and deadlines that you will need to comply with. So what are some of these? One requirement that may come about is that before you can generally solicit investors, you have to make a filing with the SEC at least 15 days in advance. Before you do any advertising or any broad outreach to get investors, you have to file this document with the SEC at least 15 days in advance. So that's one thing. There'll be a lot more disclosure of information, so more information that you'll need to provide to the SEC, much more than you needed to provide in the past. You also will need to provide copies of all the written solicitation materials that you provide to investors. So before you use them, you'll need to provide copies to the SEC. You also will need to put certain disclosures and legends and information in the financing documents that you use. And at the end of the offering, you'll have to do another closeout filing to let the SEC know that the financing has been completed and provide additional information. So there's a lot more that you need to do if you're going to pursue this new way of raising money. Now again, what I just mentioned are proposals, but I have to imagine that pretty soon we'll know what the final regulations are, and there'll be more requirements and more things that you need to do to raise money this way. And with these additional requirements and disclosures and red tape, if you will, there are real consequences if you don't comply. So we'll get into the details once we have the final regulations, but just as a heads up, if you don't comply, for example, with some of the deadlines and you don't resolve them or cure them appropriately, then you can be in the doghouse for a year in some cases and not have the ability to use these financing methods to raise money for your company. So if you misstep, then you may really be in bad shape in terms of raising money for your company. So we talked about the important point number one. You can tell everyone, you just can't sell to everyone. We talked about the second important point, which is that more requirements and red tape are just around the corner. And the third important point or third tip that I would like to mention is you really need to plan ahead. So even though there's this new way to raise money, right, this general advertising, this new age way of communicating with potential investors, you still have the ability to raise money the old-fashioned way, the way that's been done for decades in terms of having a closed private offering and following those steps. So it's very important to plan ahead and understand the pros and cons of each alternative. And as you start to think about raising money, talk with somebody who has either done it before or knows how these things work so that you make the right decision for your company. And so just as one heads up to think about, if you decide, for example, to go down this general advertising or this general investor solicitation route, and you start announcing the fundraising on the radio, or you put it on the Blimp, or you announce it with MailChimp, and then you decide to pull back and you say, no, this isn't working, I don't want to use this type of raising money, I'm going to go back and use the old way of raising money, the private offering exemption. You may be out of luck because of the fact that you have used this general solicitation and have made your offering more public. By doing so, that will preclude your ability or foreclose that opportunity to use this other type of raising money. So if you decide to go new age, it may not allow you to then stop in midstream and go old school and try to raise money that way. So you really need to plan ahead and think from the outset which is the right way for you to raise money, because if you go down one path and pull back, you may not have that other opportunity or that other fundraising method available to you at that time. So in summary, here are the upsides about this new way of raising money, the general advertising or general solicitation. One, it gives you broader access to more money. It allows you to use modern communication tools to reach out to investors. It really expands the pool of money that's available to your company and your efforts to raise money. It also is just a step in the right direction. It's modernizing the ways that you can raise money and using a lot of the communication tools that we use every day. So that's a step in the right direction. And in the downside column, as I mentioned, you can tell everyone, you just can't sell to everyone. So you can only sell to these high net worth investors, these accredited investors. So your pool is somewhat limited. There's also more disclosures and more deadlines, and with that, more costs. And as the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, is opening up the pool of investors and your ability to reach out to them, there also are real consequences if you don't comply. So if you misstep, then you can find yourself in a lot of problems if you don't do this right. As these regulations evolve, I will be back in touch to let you know how things are finalized, because this really is an important change in how companies can raise money. And I want to make sure that you stay up to date on these developments so that you can apply them to your business and use these really significant changes in how you can raise money for your business. So please let me know below if you think that general solicitation of investors and general advertising of your financing is something that will benefit your business, and if it's something that you think you might pursue. My name is Carlos Sededa from YourGreatBusiness.com. Thank you for your time.